Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys another Boruto 2 Blue Vortex discussion. Today, I want to talk to you guys about something that I've seen brought up for the last few months in the comment section when it comes to Sarada's character in the wake of the last few chapters, which is each month there is a growing belief amongst a lot of fans that Sarada has been undergoing training for the 100 healings jutsu via the Byakugou seal, and it's gotten to a point that I kind of feel like we need to have a serious conversation as if she's undergone the training for 100 healings, which is why in today's newest Naruto Explain video, we're going to take a look at why they still believe this be the case, whether or not I think it's a good idea, and what the impact on the story would be if this ends up being the case. So jumping right into it, the reason why people think that Sarada has undergone 100 healings training goes all the way back to Boruto Naruto Next Generations, in particular the manga version of the story. So for anime-only viewers who have never read Part 1's manga, some of this information is going to be new to you because the anime did make some changes to the story, in particular when it adapted the Kawaki arc into the anime. So as you guys will remember, when Naruto's walking with the members of the new generation Team 7 and they're going through the village and they're walking underneath the Hokage monument, they were shown discussing the Karma seal. There was a mark about how it looks very similar to the Byakugou seal. Naruto explains how the seal works to Team 7, and Mitsuki says that the seal, according to Orochimaru, goes back to the Sage's Sixth Path. So there's no Sasuke tie-in origin to it. So that much, as you know, was kept in the anime continuity of the story. However, what the anime did not show you in episode 203 was that when Sarada goes to the flower shop to get flowers, it was actually Sarada and Sakura in the flower shop with Ino, and Sarada is showing interest in the Byakugou seal, and she is pestering her mother Sakura with a lot of questions about it. This, of course, was not in the anime due to the anime taking liberties with the script, as they've done with all three Naruto anime, Naruto, Naruto Shippuden, and Boruto Naruto Next Generations, where they've made small changes that add up over the span of the story. But in hindsight, this moment is one that people are starting to point out as having been a sign of subtle foreshadowing, because it is planting seeds of connecting Sarada and the Byakugou seal into the minds of readers, either as a misdirect or something that later comes on when you least expect it, i.e. a classic subversion of our expectations that any good writer will look to pull when the time comes to shake up a story. The consensus is that Sarada was shown later on in the manga post-Boruo fight, putting a lot of focus on doing chakra control training via meditation and being super serious about it when she led the members of Team 7 through a training drill. That would work as foreshadowing, because with the Byakugou seal, it's the pinnacle of chakra control in the Naruto franchise for shinobi. Not even someone who was regarded as a prodigy by Tsunade, so Shizune, was able to master the training for the Byakugou seal, which is why Shizune was stunned that a 17-year-old Sakura managed to pull it off after only 4 years of training with Tsunade, going back to when Sakura began training at age 13. Shizune is like, wait a second, not even I could pull that off. The idea that the daughter of Sakura, someone who Tsunade said was the biggest genius that she'd ever seen in terms of talent for the chakra control needed for medical ninjutsu, would be able to undergo this training. So it would not be crazy to suggest this. It would mean that she had an aptitude for chakra control. She didn't focus on it per se, but it would mean she has an aptitude to pick it up very quickly. But prior to the loss of Kurama and everyone having to step their game up as a result, we didn't see her put a lot of focus on chakra control training in the manga, which would explain why we suddenly see Sarada in the manga, who prior to this had only ever been shown in the manga doing physical training, was now suddenly doing yin chakra meditation drills for chakra control purposes. That was not done by mistake. There's something there that lines with all that stuff. Just because it requires extreme chakra control, you could make that argument this is where this is going. Sarada's mother also knows how doing something extremely difficult with the training for the Byakugou seal, something that Tsunade and Shizune never thought of, can actually allow you to continue to fight in battle, which is to take small bits of chakra that is being gathered into the seal and put part of it back into the main chakra pool to allow for fighting in a limited capacity by the person who's in the process of storing chakra to complete their Byakugou seal, something that Sakura got the idea to do because she basically went, wait a second, so if Tsunade can take part of her chakra to maintain that MILF mommy body and that appearance of hers, then since I'm young, I don't need to waste my chakra to keep up a youthful appearance, so I could use it for combat purposes. It's a very uncanny way of thinking, very similar to how Naruto thought of using shadow clones to split up chakra in order to do the work for him. After hearing Kakashi say, "Hey fam, it's impossible to look left and right at the same time," then Naruto's dumbass said, hey, I could make a shadow clone look left and right, so I could do it in order to complete this jutsu. Sometimes the most brilliant answer, it is the most simplest one, which both Sakura and Naruto, they came to the conclusion in their respective situations. That's why people are saying it comes across as if she is being conservative with her chakra right now, not using full power in fights and barely using her Sharingan less than she did in part 1. There is logic to it if you think about it, enough that I don't want to put the idea down. There are enough breadcrumbs right there from Boruto part 1 to come to that conclusion that she's been training after the Ishiki battle. Now, the problem that you're going to run into is that we're now in an era where every little detail needs to be spoon-fed to readers, or else readers will start calling it an ass spool. Case in point, no spoilers, but all the outrage over the latest Jujutsu Kaisen chapter, where there are people that are complaining about stuff that is literally addressed if you go back over the rules of curse energy and the techniques being used. But the series, via the narrator, is not spoon feeding, this is what he did and how. The series is just dropping breadcrumbs and expecting you to pick them up. Right now, with a lot of the new generation manga fans that are reading, too many people, they need everything literally spelled out for them, or they need a narrator or a character to tell them that this is what they did, this is how they did it, because otherwise they'll never make the connection. Because too many people don't understand that with reading manga, you have some writers who tell a story in a way that makes you piece together the information, like how Bleach's manga does, or like I said, Jujutsu Kaisen or Chainsaw Man, into a lesser extent Boruto, which still spoon feeds to a degree, despite being ambiguous at times. We have people who are still of the belief if you don't show a character blowing up a mountain or swimming or driving a car, they'll argue they can't blow up a mountain, they can't swim, they can't drive a car because we never see them do it, when the breadcrumbs that are put in the story literally tell you otherwise, because you have to piece it together. I'm not all the way into the camp of she didn't undergo Byakugou seal training. I'm not saying that is not the case with Sarada, but I am saying the breadcrumbs, they are there if you want to come to that conclusion. And if the moment that this does end up being revealed soon or later on down the line, clip that last 45 seconds or so, because that's literally the answer to all the complaining and bitching and moaning that is going to come when people say that this is an ass pull, because people did not pick up on the potential breadcrumb trail because it was not spoon-fed in an obvious way, which again is a lot like Bleach. The undertones and the themes and the character arcs of the story, they go misunderstood because you have fans who could not piece together the breadcrumbs, because Kubo, by his own words, does not intentionally spoon-feed the information the way that Hiro Mashima will do, Kishimoto will do for Naruto, or Oda does for One Piece. So now that we've looked at the potential why and how, and the potential blowback that will come from it, inevitable blowback, I want to give my thoughts on why I think this may or may not be a good idea, what it has to do for the impact of the story, especially now that Boruto and Sarada have been shot. So look, my stance, it has not changed since last summer, where I said I was not a fan of Sarada getting the Byakugou seal, but if it happens, I was not going to be mad at it. There's enough breadcrumbs there that you can say the story is building to it beforehand. And I mean, over on Anime Ball's Steep channel, we did a Sarada video laying out the foreshadowing for why it's likely she's going to get the Byakugou. So I do think it can happen. I just don't want it to happen. I'm not going to call it a plot convenient A-pull or anything like that. Can't say the other word because I've cussed too much in this video, but it's done in a very subtle way, like the foreshadowing that Naruto's going to lose Kurama, which a lot of people missed until it actually happened and Momoshiki's words suddenly came back and people went, oh crap, this is what he meant. Boruto uses more ambiguous elements of writing than Naruto did, which it used to annoy me for a while until I understood the reason behind the switch up, because a sequel, while it should carry over elements from the original, it should also have writing in a way that takes a different approach than the original work. When you beat for beat recopy the same tone and themes and etc. from the original, once the nostalgia wears off, you run the risk of it failing. The reason I'm not a fan of the Byakugou seal for Sarada is that I just don't like the idea of it being passed down, but I'm not going to be mad about it if it is passed down, because that's literally the purpose of ninjutsu in the Naruto world. And it's one of the reasons why I say people who knock Boruto characters, they're getting all their parents' jutsu. That don't make no sense. I say they're disingenuous idiots who are reading Naruto's manga with their eyes closed, and I don't apologize for saying it. So they can get mad if they want to. So here's the thing. It's part of the will of fire, the will of stone, the will of whatever. It's to pass down your jutsu and the viewpoints and perspectives that you have to the next generation via your children and your students. With Naruto, because it was literally a new series, you were seeing the jutsu being used in real time for the first time. So it was new, it was invigorating, it gave you that sense of, oh, that's so cool to see that. I didn't know this character could do it. You had that rush of excitement. But that goes back to my earlier point. Unless you spoon feed something, people tend to miss the whole point. That was the first time we saw someone like Shikamaru use shadow stitching jutsu or shadow strangle jutsu or shadow possession jutsu, but there were literally 14 or 15 other generations of the Nara clan who learned those same jutsu beforehand, because it is a hidden jutsu. It is passed down from generation to generation, but it was new to us because we were following Naruto's generation for the first time. So everything we were seeing, it was brand new to us, but in the scope of the world and in the scope of the narrative, that's all stuff that got passed down. Anyone moaning that the parents are teaching their kids their jutsu and etc., that's what happened in the first series. That's why you're being disingenuous. So if Sarada learns her mother's Byakugou seal, it's absolutely fine. Again, I won't be a fan of it, but I'm not going to call it bad writing, because it is literally what we carry over from the Naruto franchise. It literally puts her in a very small list of people who have ever used it. So we can miss the whole thing of, well, anybody's just getting this power, because it literally keeps the rarity of the jutsu. Just like the rasengan is not something that everyone knows, because it is the pinnacle change in chakra shape. It is extremely hard to learn. It's just like the flying raijin. It is extremely hard to learn. It requires a lot of chakra to use. It is difficult to master. While there are multiple people who know each of those things, roughly 7 for the flying raijin and roughly 7 for the rasengan off the top of my head, because I did not script this video, it is still super hard to learn. And it's only something that has been passed down to a few. So by default, anyone who learned those jutsu had to work hard to master them and retain their aura of exclusivity. This what makes Sarada the third person in basically 40 years to master the jutsu. So anyone crying that this would cheapen it, again, you're being disingenuous. You're still in super rare company. That's like saying, well, anyone can be Hokage. You've had 7 people officially named Hokage in the 70 years since Konoha's been around. You've had 9 when you include Danzo and Shikamaru, who were named Hokage but did not officially have the titles. Now, as far as like the benefits, look, if she does know the jutsu, then the damage that she took from Jura's Bijudama, she's able to heal it if we see her in the next chapter. If she's as skilled at using it as Sakura was, then she would also be able to literally transfer the effects of the Byakugou seal onto someone once she touches them. So she could heal Boruto. In theory, if she had it, she'd be able to reverse some of the damage done by using the Mangekyo, the same way that Obito was able to spam Kamui for several years, because the entire left side of his body was made up of Hashirama cells. So in theory, Sarada would be able to get a lot of those same benefits. It would also be a pretty monster power amp when you think about it. Mangekyo gives you a power boost, but when you add in the 100 healings boost on top of that, that's 3 years worth of chakra stored up, potentially 4 if we wait to see it until after Boruto vs Kawaki happens, when Boruto's 16 at that point. We saw what happened when Sakura had 4 years to store up chakra. So at the start of Naruto Shippuden, base Sakura was in that Jonin tier of power. She was weaker than Sai and weaker than base Naruto, but she was stronger than Sasori's Hiriko puppet. By the time we got into the war and she unleashed the whole thing, we have little confirmation that she has more chakra at her disposal than 1/3 of 6-pass chakra mode Naruto, who also had Hagoromo's seal before Hagoromo took it back after Kaguya was defeated. Which, reminder, the seals that Naruto and Sasuke got are not required to use 6-pass Sage mode, which is the Sage mode that Hagoromo gave Naruto, or 6-pass power, which that's the flight and truth-seeking orbs. That's the power you get from being a 10-tailed Jinchuriki, or the Rinnegan. 3 separate powers, a way independent from the seals. You don't need the seals to use those powers. Now that I've kind of cleared that up again for the 100th time, that's a monster jumping power that for someone like Sarada, who's already super strong, and I stand by it. I'll leave it in the end credits for you guys to check out. By the end of Boruto, without the Mangekyo Sharingan, you could drop Sarada into Naruto's manga and she would get up to around volume 47 in terms of power. Volume 47 is Pain Arc levels of power. We just express things different in Boruto, but it's basically her own version of Dragon Force, which over here on the left, that's my video explaining all 5 generations of Dragon Slayers in Fairy Tail, all 22 different Dragon Slayers. So that's something you can click on to learn more about, or you can click here to watch that Sarada video that I just mentioned earlier.